Hello from our little mobile studio, aka our car. We're driving with our baby in the back sleeping, so we gotta keep our voices down. But in the new year, we wanted to talk about a topic which is probably on everybody's mind, and it's what's the future of this whole camera market, the gear market that we're in. It's a new year. Interesting statements came out from Sony, which said that in 3 years, phones will replace cameras, which is a huge statement from a company that makes so many cameras.
Sony actually does make cell phones as well, so maybe they're thinking that they're going to be okay no matter what, which is actually a smart move for them. You know, they make tons of products. It's not just cameras. It's phones, it's TVs, it's computers, it's everything. So truly Sony is set up to, still rule the world no matter what happens to cameras.
Yeah, Sony will be fine. We can trust that much. But for us on this channel, and in particular for creative professionals or altogether video creators, photo creators, where are things going? That's a topic on everybody's mind, I believe, lately. So what do you think first?
Well, I just did an interview yesterday with YouTuber Shelby Church. That video is up. You guys can watch it. But, towards the end, we did talk about that, how she admits that she's using her iPhone to film a lot of her videos. And she's got, close to 2 million subscribers. And she's been doing YouTube for almost 14 years. So, she's saying that even though she's got all the big camera gear, kind of like what we're saying, is it's heavy, it's expensive, it's more than you need a lot of times. And cell phones are really getting up there, and I'm feeling that way too. You guys have noticed that some of the latest videos that I've done have been about using an iPhone to film, because you honestly can.
Yeah, so for a particular type of shooting, including a lot of YouTube, you actually can get away with the phone, and iPhones are really good. Samsung are pretty close. The rest of them I don't know very much about, but they can do amazing stuff. And then on top of that, iPhones have great computers in them, or any phone really, the leading ones, and they can do so much processing on top of what you shoot. So already the features of a phone far exceed what you can get out of a camera when it comes to what they call AI or post-processing. All kinds of algorithms are being applied real time on the phone now.
You can even edit directly on your phone, so it's just in terms of workflow. You shoot, you edit, you upload, you engage on social media on your phone, so you can do it all from a phone these days. And it's not just YouTube, it's TikTok, it's Instagram, it's all these other social media platforms out there. And a lot of them too, like, it requires vertical video, and so the cameras are actually having to shift the way that they're being made so that they can shoot vertical video more so, because they're not really set up for that. So yeah, phones, because of the way that we're consuming and creating media these days, phones are positioned obviously to play a big part of that in the future.
You have incentive to actually shoot with a phone because it's natural. And we see the camera makers are getting worried about it, but that's really one side of the argument. There's another side of the argument, which of course a lot of old timers are going to vouch for, is that you actually have a lot that is lacking when it comes to phones as well. And the number one place where they lack is ergonomics. The way you handle a phone is actually pretty kind of slippery. If you're on the field shooting all day, you actually are very likely to drop your phone, or it's awkward. You cannot be fast and responsive on an all-day shoot to do real shooting, in my opinion.
That's true, but there are also so many accessories that I didn't even know about until I switched to iPhone and I started looking for iPhone accessories to shoot. And there's like little grips, like there are ways to make the phone more ergonomic and shoot better. And so I haven't really tested them out too much, so this is just kind of a hypothesis, but I do think that the accessories for phones are going to keep coming out to make them better for shooting with. But still, overall, yeah, it's nothing compared to, actually physically holding a camera.
Smartphones have indeed been a huge productivity boost in many areas, and that includes collaboration, which brings me to the sponsor of today's video, AnkerWork. I've worked for some of the biggest companies in the world, and I've been to some of the nicest modern offices out there, and I can tell you the nature of work has changed. It is now much more common to work with people across the country or across even the whole world than it is with those in the same building or room as you. And for that you need teleconferencing. if you're by yourself, you can easily do that with a headset and your phone or your laptop. But if you have a team, you need one of these. This is the SR500 speakerphone by AnkerWork. Anker is well known for making quality hardware at a great price, and it has now moved into teleconferencing. This particular unit is great because whether you're alone or with a small team in a small room, or if you're holding a large event with many people or even a conference, this device can fit your need because you can link up to 5 of them, and each of them has 8 microphones inside. The device is intelligent enough to understand who the speaker is and where they're speaking, and use what it calls voice radar to isolate their voice, and then it can connect to any of your favorite remote work software like Zoom or Microsoft Teams, and it has a software layer which is updatable, so over time you will get even better and more features. So if you have such needs, look no further than AnkerWork. I can't wait to see what other exciting offerings they have for this new way we work today. For nostalgia, you know, even record players and vinyl are still around.
Film cameras.
And film cameras, so that will remain for sure, but I think there's actually a practical application that isn't going away that soon. For example, when you go do your events where things happen within a second and you have to catch them on the spot, and you often go with 2 camera buddies, one has one lens, the other one has another, and you have to shoot, and the way you expose, the way you focus, all these things, the way you compose, are so much better done on a camera, still on a proper camera body, than with a phone.
Yeah, you could argue that for sure. And I would agree, but we both have, you know, been trained to use cameras that way, and now there's a new generation of people that are bypassing that altogether and going straight to a phone. So I would say that there's probably some people that would disagree with us and say that no, it's easier to do that on a phone just because that's all that they've used as a camera. But yes, from a professional perspective, cameras or phones still don't do the best in low light. They're getting better, but they're not quite there yet. So yeah, professionally, obviously I'm not going to show up at my photo shoots with just a phone, but it will be interesting to see what that looks like in 5 to 10 years from now. Maybe that will be the case more so.
And it depends on what kind of photo shoot. So for example, when you are approached by a business that say, this is my image, make me look good, make me look professional and shiny, you're not gonna come with an iPhone. First of all, it is a part of your image, what you pull out when you go to a photo shoot. But the second thing, yeah, you said image quality is still by far superior on the mirrorless cameras than a phone. And then there's also the issue that the phones have actually started removing the batteries, or their batteries are no longer replaceable, and they don't have external memory cards. So how would you shoot all day then?
iCloud, uploading directly to the cloud. They want you to buy the biggest capacity phones. Obviously, they're coming out with up to a terabyte of storage built in. So you can see like why they're doing that. It's a monetary incentive for them to do it. In terms of the battery, like you can have a brick and keep be charging it as you're shooting. Like,
how do you do that? You handle a brick and a phone in the same time?
Well, with MagSafe you can just attach it with a magnet. I mean, I'm so impressed with MagSafe and iPhones overall and all the accessories out there. Like I do think that was a world I just did not even know about until I dove into it just like a month or so ago. But yeah, I do think that, like I said before, phone accessories are going to continue to evolve, and they are supporting photography and videography professionally somewhat. But on that note too, like when it comes to professional shoots, I'd say more than half the time, why are people hiring a photographer to cover an event? Because they're going to post it on social media. And so I do see the social media managers there with their phones and they're shooting. Like, exactly, they're not using cameras. So it depends on what those clients are going to use the media for. Exactly. And in some cases, yes, they do want it vertical. They're going to post it directly to Instagram, and it makes the workflow faster if it's just done on a phone rather than having to transfer it off your camera to a phone. So
that really is it. Yeah, so it depends where the media is going, and if it is for social media, even YouTube, which tends to be higher quality and so on, you actually can quite adequately produce that with just a phone at this point. So that kind of shoot, you can totally get away with it. Now, when it comes to the creativity and the technicalities of what a camera gives you and a phone does not, number one, I would say, is zoom. you don't get any zoom on a phone. I mean, you do get zoom.
You get zoom, yeah.
But not that far. So if I'm going out, like you went to the shows before, and you're way in the back, and just like Paul McCartney, you're not going to be zooming with a terrible, atrocious ×3 zoom with degradation on an iPhone.
Yeah, not the digital zoom, but I actually have some Sandmark company is sending me some lenses, a telephoto lens, so I will be trying that out. You know, Moment Lens was first on the market in terms of making lenses to attach to cell phones, and they actually did a pretty good job, but I haven't really tried that world out recently, so that's something I'll be diving into in upcoming videos and trying out these, you know, lenses for phones and seeing if it does indeed allow you to do zoom and retain image quality or enhance image quality. We'll see if that's the case, but I do see that being a thing more so. We're going to see more lenses for phones coming out.
Yeah, I think you're totally right that altogether phone accessories are where a lot of the growth is going to happen now because of the way the market is evolving. So yes, some part of the market will transition to that. And Suzi has undertaken that to test the limits of that and see to what degree you can actually supplant your professional shooting with iPhones and accessories.
I actually wasn't quite going to go that route, but I like that. I actually will do that. So we'll see.
It will be interesting. Meanwhile, we still have many kinds of lockers and things full of traditional photo and video gear. Mm-hmm. So we're not really getting rid of it. That's not an option for us.
And actually, along those lines, since you mentioned all that gear, I do think that right now there's an oversaturation of certain accessories for those big cameras, like microphones and gimbals and tripods. And I'll be glad, honestly, if we just have less of those. I just think that there's too many. People don't need a million gimbal choices for their cameras. So in that sense, it's a good thing if those types of cameras are less popular and there's less of them being made, because we don't need all these camera accessories that are out there. Let's be real.
Yeah, but beyond that though, I think that there are other cases in which phones cannot be yet used well, and one is out in nature. So when you are BBC kind of National Geographic kind of guy, you go out in the jungle or to the North Pole and you're gonna be filming for a month or two and camping. It is still not doable with a phone.
They're using totally different, it's like cinema quality cameras that most consumers don't use. So, I mean, that's gonna, you know, remain the super professional style of cameras that even we don't use, like the RE Alexas and all those like brands that I've just heard of, I haven't even touched. So those are still going to be a thing for sure. Like, those won't go anywhere, but in terms of the consumer level cameras, all those full frame mirrorless cameras and the APS-Cs and the point and shoots and all that, I do think that we'll start to see a decline in the amount of models out there. I'm actually hoping that we do, because I do think that they're being produced at way too fast of a pace, and we just don't need all these constant updates or reasons to convince ourselves to upgrade and buy new cameras. Like, we just don't need that.
Yeah, there's too many, that's for sure, and they kind of sit around for the most part, honestly. That's a whole nother topic about the gear acquisition syndrome. It's real, and many people buy it because it sounds good in theory, but then they never actually use it because they either don't have the impulse or the time, and so then they put them on the shelf. They're probably cameras in people's houses for years and years ahead if we have to just tap into them as a resource. Let's say the world stops and new gear stops being made completely, we are set for 20 more years, I think.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I think so. I think, and along those lines, the used camera markets are just they're already a pretty big thing, and I think that they'll continue to be a big thing. If you're not already looking at buying used camera gear, then you really should, because you can get really good deals on honestly pretty quality gear out there. But actually, another sort of topic to all this are these little specialty cameras like GoPros, action cameras, I actually don't think that we're going to see a decline in those, because they're specialty. And even though iPhone is starting, it's not quite waterproof, but I think you can indeed submerge it in water now, and it's not, the end of the world anymore. So there are cases to make your iPhone waterproof, and, they're adding this active stabilization to try to be like hyper smooth, like they're trying to sort of make phones like action cameras, but let's be real, they're not.
So I was gonna go into that as well, because our channel is so much about action cams, and the latest iPhone release definitely went after them. They put in all this new stabilization and waterproofing and whatnot. So they're trying. However, there's a big thing going on still, that if you're out in the field doing action or climbing mountains, or you're over water traveling, one drop of your phone and it's gone. And then you have nothing to shoot with if that's what you came to shoot with, and you have no phone.
Yeah, I was saying earlier that, for us, our phones have been our backup camera. Like if the GoPro fails, if the Fujifilms fail, if all of our other cameras fail, then at least we have our phones, right? But if the phone is your main camera, then what's your backup? Exactly. You're going to need a backup of some kind. So yeah, it's a scary thought to, in some ways it feels empowering I can just go and shoot with my phone, but it's also a little scary because, yeah, relying solely on your phone like that for shooting and everything else is also kind of scary.
Yeah, so beyond that, your phone actually has to do with how you function now. It's an extension of your mind, and many things we do rely on the phone, not just daily, more so hourly and by the minute. And if you go out and you drop your phone in a ditch or in a lake, and then you are trying to actually navigate or travel, or you need information, then you're out of all that. And so I'm getting to the point that I need the phone during a photo shoot for other tasks or as I travel, and I cannot rely on it to shoot in the same time as well. So the way we shoot, the way we travel, we actually much more so need multiple devices, and some of them need to be specialized. So in conclusion here, we still do think that the market is evolving into a direction where it's becoming ultra portable, and it's going towards one very powerful device to rule them all. However, there are still quite many use cases, but we always were into that, by the way, when we started our channel with the phone, and we always were chasing that super enabling portable device that we can do everything with.
But with that said, I do think that the specialty cameras and devices are still going to remain. The BBC guys out there shooting the cheetahs and those elusive creatures, like they're going to have specialized cameras. Those are still going to be a thing. Action cameras, 360 cameras, drone cameras, like those are still going to be there, and they're going to keep evolving. But I do think it's the other cameras, like the little point and shoots, the mirrorless cameras, the DSLRs, which are already kind of on their way down, like those are I think that market for sure is going to start to decline.
Yeah, ultimately for us as media creators, things are exciting because we keep getting more and more empowered. It is great that you can produce just stunning looking 4K video right from your pocket, and then you can go to the other end of the world and you can still be in business, basically making media. You can even edit, like you said, and so it's become very empowering for people who seek this kind of lifestyle. And then together with that, there's a whole suite of productivity tools, software and other hardware. We're talking about Zoom calls, and you do business in a different way at this point. So you can just pack your studio in your backpack and go.